and then we'll get started. But pretty much my spiel, if you haven't heard it twice already, I do have a dog, so he might bark if there's an animal outside. Hopefully that's not too distracting. You can turn on your video if you like. I recommend maybe not the microphone unless you have a question, just so we don't get too much background noise from everybody. And then there's also a chat box where you can type in if you have any questions. But I already got one question that I will address too, so that was cool. But yeah, I'll also be sending out a handout, so kind of like summarizing everything we talked about, and I'm recording, so we'll post this in the member portal. Just give it another minute or two. So I guess I'll introduce myself. My name is Kate, and I am one of the nutritionists here at On Point. You see a bunch of my clients are in here, which is nice. A lot of names that I don't know, but that's okay. I am recording from Delaware. So yeah, I mentioned I have my dog. My dog is here, and yeah, I've been at On Point for three years now. Yeah, 3 years, and yeah, we've been working from home doing the virtual thing. We're kind of set up for this, which is kind of working out in our favor, and all of your favors too. So wanted to do a webinar on, we still have some more people. All right, so I'll just kind of get started and admit people as they come. But this is always a pretty popular webinar topic. We've done like a pantry clean out before, or kind of just like a discussion about pantry items. I'm sure that you've probably talked about a lot of these things with your nutritionist or dietitian in your counseling sessions, but it's nice to kind of like see examples and go through like nutrition labels and like go through a lot of the popular household items that we all have, because there's so many different products at the store, and it can be really overwhelming to know, you know, with all the marketing, if something is a good product or not. So we'll kind of like go over those things today. And like I said, if you have questions, you can send a little note in the chat if you want, or turn on your microphone and ask away. Love to keep it informal if we can. So I'm just gonna jump right in. So what I first want to go over is healthy swap, maybe for current pantry staples. One of the things that we talk to clients about a lot is peanut butter. So I have my favorite peanut butter here, along with some other popular ones. So I have Peter Pan, which we know is, you know, we see this a lot on the shelves. And here's another one, Peanut Butter Co. This one's my boyfriend's favorite. So both of these are peanut butter spreads. So that's kind of like my first inclination of maybe a product not being as like wholesome is the word spread. Typically we'll just see peanut butter. So spread usually is an indication that there's maybe some added oil or added ingredients. So the difference between these two isn't really a lot. They both have peanuts, cane sugar, palm oil, and salt. So that might not sound so bad, but the issue is that there's added oil here and added sugar. The added sugar isn't so high. It has 3 grams of sugar, both of them do. But when you compare it to something like the Smucker's Natural, the ingredients are peanuts. That's it. Peanuts. There's no added oil here. There's 0 grams of sugar, 0 grams of added sugar. So in comparison, something where the ingredients are only peanuts is going to just be a better option. So if you look at these and compare them, you might think like the calories and the fat are about the same. So that's true. It's just that this is a better option because there's nothing else in it besides nuts. Sometimes the taste might be off-putting in the beginning because it's not as sweet. But yeah, this is a better option.
Peanut butter in just 1 minute.
I have a question. I'm sorry, can you repeat? Somebody have a question? Somebody have a, is it Virginia? Do you have a question?
No.
Okay. All right. Whoever started to ask a question, you can just send it in the chat. So that kind of like leads to a lot of the discussion that we'll have today is like the ingredients on a lot of the products that you're buying. Anything that's just the peanuts is always going to be good. Almonds, same thing with like cashew butter, any of those. You can also make your own. If you have a food processor and you put the nuts in the food processor, it might take a little while. Sometimes I think my food processor is going to overheat because it takes a little while. But that's a great way to make your own nut butter too. Now you know exactly what's in it. So another P word, protein bars. So I have a couple here, some popular ones. I'm sure everybody has seen Quest bars. So one of the main things I want to go over with protein bars is the labeling. So on a Quest bar, we can see here 1 gram of sugar. So these are kind of like marketed as 1 gram of sugar, 13 grams of fiber, 20 grams of protein, you know, like that sounds great, right? Then when you flip over the label, you'll see that it says total sugar is 1 gram, which is exactly what the front said. But then we see erythritol, 4 grams. Does anybody know what erythritol is? Anybody can turn their mic on or send a chat if you want.
Is it sugar?
So it's actually a sugar alcohol. So sugar alcohols are carbohydrates that are found in like certain fruits and vegetables and can also be manufactured. So the issue with sugar alcohols is that they're calorie free, which can be good for anybody who is diabetic, or in this case, they're kind of like marketing it as being sugar free while sweetening it with erythritol. Side effects of sugar alcohols are that they can cause a lot of digestive issues and diarrhea. If you eat a lot of sugar alcohols, you can have a lot of bloating, cramps, and gas, just because, you know, they're manufactured. So this has 1 gram of sugar, but then it also has like chemicals in it, which I kind of compare that to if you were going to drink diet soda versus soda. There's artificial sweeteners in it. It brings the calorie content to 0, and this isn't, you know, adding to the calorie content in the bar, but it's kind of like a manufactured sweetener to make it taste good while making it lower in calories. So this one just doesn't have as great of ingredients as some of the other bars that we see. Same thing, I have an example here. This is like a Costco brand. It's kind of the same, it's like a Costco Quest bar. 4 grams of net carbs, kind of like advertising 1 gram of sugar, all the fiber, no artificial ingredients. But then you see sugar alcohols, same thing, erythritol, 4 grams. So that's something that you kind of want to pay attention to. One that I really like is Larabars. So when you look at the ingredient list here, you see total sugars is 18, which might sound like a lot, but when you look, it says 2 grams of added sugar. In addition to looking at the nutrition facts, you also want to look at the ingredient. So the first ingredient here is date, which is a fruit. So the sugar is coming from date. So it's a natural source of sugar versus chemical or manufactured sugar that's calorie free. So in this instance, dates are more nutritious than, you know, an artificial sweetener. Then it's pea protein. This is a vegan protein bar. And then unsweetened chocolate, cocoa powder, sea salt. These are all ingredients that you can name. You know, all of those things, you know what they are. So it's comprised of things that you know. Same thing with the regular Lara bars. They're just 5 ingredients: dates, cashews, apples, blueberries, vanilla extract. That's all that's in this. Versus kind of like these Quest bars or kind of bars that are like this: protein blend, soluble corn fiber, erythritol, natural flavors. What do you guys know what natural flavors are? Because they're typically artificial. Cocoa butter, sunflower lecithin, which is a binder, stevia, another calorie-free sweetener, sea salt, sodium, like the list just goes on. So it's just not as clean. All right, so I see some chats coming through. Just want to address a couple questions here. So the first one was a Quest bar, sorry. The second one was it's like a Costco Kirkland brand. These are my boyfriend's favorite, so he's gonna hate me for this. But someone also asked, are RX bars similar to Lara bars? So RX bars are great. If you've never seen them, I don't have an example of one, but it's a bar and it lists out everything that's in the bar. So it's exactly like Lara bars, where it just has those 5 ingredients. It's nuts, dates, sea salt, maybe chocolate chips, but then they just add egg whites to it. So very similar to this Lara bar protein, where this is getting the protein from pea protein, and the RX bars are coming from egg white. So that was Elisa's question. RX bars are similar. What time of day are protein bars most helpful? Post-workout, breakfast, afternoon snack? I think the answer there is any time of day. And I have a lot of clients who like to eat these for breakfast, or pre-workout or post-workout. Typically, by On Point standards, we count these as half a protein, a starch, and a fat. So anytime that you would want to use 3 of those things, whether you're on the go or you're having an on-the-go breakfast, or you're coming home from a workout and want to hold yourself over until dinner for afternoon snack, I don't think that there's really like a wrong time to do that as a snack, especially if you're on the go. Someone said, are there other brands we recommend aside from the Lara bar? Yes, RX bars, as somebody had wrote in, Luna bars. There's also a bunch listed on your snack guide on your member portal. Another one is Red brand. Some of these you can't find everywhere. RX bars you can find everywhere. Lara bars too. So yeah, there's a bunch that I might be missing on the snack list. Typically you want to look for less than 10 to 15 grams of sugar anytime added sugar that you're looking at a product. Difference between Smucker's natural and Skippy natural peanut butter. I'm pretty sure that the Skippy natural still has oil and sugar in it. I might be wrong, but I just had the Smucker's here because that's the one that I really like. But I think it might. But again, just like look at the label. A lot of times too, the store brand is actually the better option too. So I think that was all the questions for the protein bars and the peanut butter. Next one I want to talk about is bread and pasta and rice and the difference between whole wheat and white. So I'm sure everybody has seen on your sample meal plan and on the meal planning guide, we always are talking about whole grains, brown rice, whole wheat pasta, quinoa, those things, but you might not understand why it's a better option than choosing something that's made from enriched white flour. So to give you an example, I have 2 different kinds of bread here. I got this Pepperidge Farm light bread. This is like a 45 calorie, seemingly healthier bread because it says light, right? So that means it must be better. But then we have Dave's Killer Bread, which I'm sure you've probably heard us talk about or seen on the food guide or the shopping list. So the main difference in the 2 of these, so another thing about label reading is the first ingredient is the most prominent in the product. So with the Pepperidge Farm, the first ingredient is enriched flour. So when we look at the Dave's Killer Bread, it's organic whole wheat, cracked whole wheat, and then water. So the difference is that the whole wheat kernel has vitamins, minerals, protein, carbohydrates, and the bran, which contains the most vitamins and minerals, and the endosperm as well. So with white flour, anytime you have a product that's white flour, so that goes for pasta as well. This is like a regular just box of white pasta. The endosperm, the outer coating, is removed. And then they add back in vitamins to kind of make it more nutritious. And then it's ground into a fine flour. So when you're looking at like an enriched product that doesn't have the endosperm or the whole wheat in it, it really provides you with a lot less of the protein contained in the whole wheat kernel. And then white flour also loses a lot of its fiber too. So when you compare these two, your Dave's Killer Bread has 110 calories per slice, and this has 45, but they want you to eat 3, and they're a lot smaller. So my logic here is that the Dave's Killer Bread is a heartier piece of bread. So we know that 110 calories and 22 grams of carb is 1 starch. Whereas you would eat 3 of these pieces to have 1 starch. But with the Dave's Killer Bread, you're getting almost double the fiber and just better ingredients. So you don't have to eat 3 pieces of something that's enriched in order to fill you, when you can have, you know, like a heartier slice of this, and then it also contains like oats, sunflower seeds. Again, go through the ingredients. Your white is just monoglyceride, soy, calcium propionate, sorbic acid, rye meal, a whole bunch of kind of like additives. Whereas when you look at the ingredients here, we see flax seeds, sunflower seeds, whole flax seeds, brown sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds. So it's all foods that are whole. We had a question that came through, Catherine. The processed whole wheat products are so processed, you should go for a bakery whole wheat bread. So that's a great point. I actually usually get bakery bread, especially from Whole Foods. The Whole Foods bakery is amazing. Think about like if you've ever made homemade bread at home, the ingredients that are in it are flour, water, maybe you put seeds in it, yeast, maybe a little bit of sugar, but in comparison to the processing of the food, getting like fresh bread from a bakery is a great option. So that was a great point, Catherine. Does anybody have any, Ezekiel bread, somebody asked. That's a great one too. So the market didn't have Ezekiel bread. I wanted to use that one as an option. The Ezekiel bread is sprouted grain bread. So that's a wonderful choice too. Definitely full of nutrients and contains the whole grain. I know the texture sometimes can be off-putting. People say it tastes like cardboard maybe. If you're trying, especially if you're feeding your family, the Dave's Killer Bread might be a little bit easier to stomach. Looks like we had another question. So somebody asked like what sprouted, somebody's coming in. All right, so we're talking about like sprouted grains. Sorry. All right, so just based off of everything that I know about sprouted grains, they're known to have a little bit more antioxidants and can increase protein and like essential amino acids, which is like the building blocks for your protein in your body. They also have usually have a higher fiber content than whole grains. I'm sure there's some other sprouted grain breads out there, but Ezekiel is like one of the main ones. Someone said, why are there so many options in the aisle, like whole wheat, whole grain, 12 grain, etc., that all look healthy? Which of those keywords would you go for? That's a great question. So to give you an idea, like this Dave's Killer Bread, 21 whole grains and seeds. So when it says whole grain, it contains that whole grain, the endosperm, the wheat kernel, the whole plant. It also contains other grains. So this has oats in it, rye, millet. Probably lives up to its 21 grain seed bread. So with this is that grain bread probably contains more than just whole wheat. So this has a combination of oats. It looks like rice flour, numerous different ingredients rather than just whole wheat. So whole grain, whole wheat, those are both good options. I think the word that you kind of want to avoid with anything is enriched, because that means it's stripped of something, and then they add other nutrients back in to make up for it. So I have another, no, not another question. So another thing to move on to is cereal, now that we're kind of like on the bread topic. Cereal versus oatmeal, or cereals and oatmeal. Oh, I also wanted to touch, since we're talking about pasta, I have the Banza pasta, which is like making a lot of, really popular right now. So this is made from chickpeas. If anybody's gluten-free, this is a great option. So this is a good example where the ingredients are chickpeas, tapioca, pea protein, and xanthan gum. So those are really just binders to make sure that it's kind of chewy like pasta. This has 13 grams of protein in a serving, which is more than your average pasta. So if you're a vegetarian, this is actually like a great source for you to get some protein in, rather than going for like a white pasta. Not that this is better than whole wheat, but this is just an alternative and could be a better option than doing the white, especially if you want to get some more protein. It has more than double the fiber of regular pasta. So this regular pasta that I have here has 3 grams, and your Banza has 8. So more fiber, probably more filling. The texture might be a little bit different, but also a great way for you to get protein if you're plant-based. So I wanted to talk about cereal a little bit. This is a great example of like a seemingly healthy cereal, your Raisin Bran. So it says right on the front, heart healthy. It says like a diet low in saturated fat and cholesterol may reduce the risk of heart disease, which this doesn't have a lot of cholesterol in it, but that's because most cholesterol is found in animal products anyway. So kind of like a weird claim to put on a cereal box. And then there's no saturated fat here at all, which is good. The issue here is the sugar. So that's because there's a lot of raisins in here, which we know like 2 tablespoons is really a serving for raisins. You're probably going to get more than that in this 1 cup serving of cereal, which is like a whole fruit serving in addition to your starch. And then there's sugar syrup in it, as well as added sugar. So this has 17 grams of sugar in it versus I have the Life multigrain. This has 8. So typically we're looking for something that's less than 10 grams. So this is, there is sugar in the ingredient list here, but it's not really much at 8 grams. That's a reasonable amount for a serving. And again, like there's no cholesterol or saturated fat in this one either. And the first ingredient is whole grain oat flour. And here you do have whole grain wheat. So I think they are making the brand, brand is whole wheat or whole grain. Somebody asked, bonza pasta would count as protein and a starch. Yeah, yep. So typically we would count a serving of this as half a protein and 1 starch. So a good indication of that is that it has 190 calories per serving. We know that your starch serving, 1 starch serving is about 100 calories. So we know that there's 13 grams of protein here. About 15 is what we consider to be a half. So that makes up for this extra 90 calories that you get in addition to the 100. If none of you are aware of what I'm breaking down on the nutrition label and how I'm getting 1 starch, half a protein, anything, on your food guide, there's a little box that says nutrition per 1 serving. And it tells you the amount of carbohydrates that would equal 1 starch, the protein that would equal a protein or a half protein, how much fat equals 1 fat. So that's all in your food guide. And also too, if you have any other questions about that, you can talk to your nutritionist or dietitian. So there's kind of a difference with some of the cereal there. And then I wanted to look at oats. So we eat a lot of oats here. There's this huge oats from Costco. So when you're looking at this, the ingredients are whole grain rolled oats. So oats are a great source of whole grains. We know half a cup cooked would be 1 starch serving. And there's 0 sugar in this. So plain oats is a great breakfast and a great option because you can personalize it. You can add your own fruit, you can add your own nut butter, you can add chia seeds if you want for fat. I like to put protein powder in mine to make it a little bit more filling. I don't think half a cup cooked is really that much. So I like to put protein powder in mine, put it in the fridge overnight. One of my favorite things, I just make a mason jar of them for the week. Line up the mason jars and just make them all at the same time. You can put frozen fruit in them, fresh fruit, versus something like the instant oats. So you get like these or the packets. Again, the labeling is tricky because it tells you 100% whole grain oats, which is true, but then it says no added flavors, no artificial flavors, no sweeteners. It has 14 grams of sugar, which is coming, they're putting sugar in it. So if sugar isn't something that you would add to your oats when you make it in the morning, and that's essentially what you're doing if you do something like this where it's already sweetened and already contained in the product. So that's just something to be careful of. Calorie-wise, it's not far off. I mean, it's only like 40 more calories. You might not think that it's, a big difference, but the sugar content is the difference. Somebody commented that RX Bar has a new product, RX Oats, similar to the bars. I haven't seen those. That's really cool. They also make nut butters too that are flavored. Typically they might count as like a fat and maybe like a condiment or something because they're sweetened with dates. So with some of those things where they're adding ingredients, then we might have to count it as more than one thing.
Ivy has me counting it as a half a protein, 1 starch, and 1 fat.
For the nut butter?
For the RX oats.
Oh, the RX oats, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when you have something that has more ingredients or more stuff in it, we just kind of have to count those things. Kind of like the same thing as if you took your own oats and then added in the fruit, added in the fat, whatnot.
Yep.
It's just that that what exactly the ingredients are. The RX is a great product because we know that they don't use a lot of sugar. So that's a good one actually compared to this. Someone asked for a protein powder recommendation that isn't too sweet. I use a plant-based protein powder. It's called Plant Fusion. I don't think it's too sweet, but that's just my personal taste. Also too, on the member portal, there is a coupon code for Orgain protein powder, which is also a plant-based one. I believe it's $15 off your purchase. So That's on the member portal in the member perks section. So kind of like went through cereal a little bit. Just want to touch on dairy and non-dairy. So I got a couple different yogurts here, all Chobani. To give you an example, I got like a regular non-fat Greek plain, and then I also got a blueberry, which has fruit on the bottom. So with the blueberry one, they also added in cane sugar, natural flavors, and then lemon juice, fruit pectin. So it has 14 grams of sugar, but then this is different from the Larabar where there was no added sugar. 9 grams of the 14 is added. So they also added in that cane sugar. So this is different than just adding regular fruit to your yogurt because they're also adding in like a scoop of sugar with it. So that's something to be careful of. You can always add your own fruit if you get the plain. The fat content is pretty much, they're both 0. And then I just wanted to showcase, they also make an oat milk one. It's non-dairy. So this is an example, you know, like this is 13 grams of sugar and it's all added. So it's a little bit more than what we would recommend, but it's still on the lower end. The second ingredient is cane sugar. So remember when we talked about as prominence in the label? The first ingredient is the oat blend and the second ingredient is cane sugar. So that means that there's quite a bit in here. If you're dairy free, I would recommend getting the unsweetened kind. They didn't have it at my store. I wanted to use that as an example, but a little bit less sweet, but then you can add in your own fruit. And if you want to add in like peanut butter or like even agave or honey, which is a natural sugar, just to make it taste a little bit better, that helps. Somebody asked, what do we recommend as dried fruit? Great question. Anytime you're looking for, I think I have places. Somebody, I got sent home with these from someone who made a salad. Again, sugar is like the hot topic, it seems. The ingredients are cranberries and sugar. Typically, when you're looking at dried fruit, you just want the ingredients to be just the fruit. So, and if anybody's had a dried mango from Trader Joe's, it's great. The ingredients are just mango. So you won't want to eat the portion that you would eat if that was a whole fruit, just because the water is taken out of it. So what you're getting is like a more dense portion of it. So it's not equal. You want to make sure that you check your food guide for the serving size. So a serving size for cranberries or like raisins is usually 2 tablespoons. So you can eat more grapes than that because they're taking the water and the fiber out of it. So you have to be careful. The portion size is smaller. So you want to watch the portion size with dried fruit, and then also just look for something that doesn't have added sugar with it. But other than that, I mean, dried fruit can be great, especially like on the go, or if you want to add it to a trail mix. You just have to be careful with your serving size. Someone asked about almond yogurt. Is it good for protein? Typically, almond milk or like plant-based products using almonds aren't really dense enough with the nut to have it count towards protein. So if you're going to get an almond milk or an almond milk yogurt, you want to get something that they probably added in pea protein to, because that's where you're going to get that protein. To give you an example, we can look at almond milk. So in this almond milk, 1 cup is 30 calories. There's only 1 gram of protein in here in a whole cup. So just because it's not as if you're eating a cup of nuts, it's not as dense with protein, so we can't really count it here. What fat content in yogurt is best? So typically we recommend non-fat or fat-free dairy products, just because dairy is a source of saturated fat, which is the unhealthy fat or the fat that contributes to your risk for disease. So anything that's 2%, 1% or less, so 1% fat-free, non-fat, that's going to reduce the saturated fat in the product. So with these, I got the non-fat, which is 0. and the saturated fat is 0. So you really want to have your saturated fat as low as possible. And then you also just want to pay attention, like anytime you see at least 5 grams of fat, we know that that's really a fat serving. So sometimes people have a hard time letting go of like a higher fat yogurt. I think it's okay in occasion, or you know, like a couple times a week, if it's not something that you know, like you're worried about your cholesterol. If you want to do something that has 5 grams of fat and it's like 2% or higher, then you just have to count it as a dairy and a fat, because otherwise, when we do just the dairy, it would be low or non-fat version. And then someone asked if non-fat milk has more sugar than other milk. We see that sometimes just because they add it in to make it taste better. I think if you're getting a really good quality milk, that won't be the case. Especially like if you're doing a dairy-free milk, you want to look for like the unsweetened. And then this has 0 grams of added sugar. So make sure that you guys are reading your labels. I don't have regular milk here, to be an example, but that's something that you just want to look on the nutrition label for, because a lot of times gluten-free or if you do like non-fat, those things have other flavors or artificial ingredients or sugar added in to make them taste good. Another thing too is ice cream. So this is a hot topic. Halo Top. Any Halo Top fans? So 330 calories for the whole pint, right? Seems like, great, I can eat the whole pint. So when we look, then you look on the front, light ice cream, good source of protein. And this brings us back to the erythritol and sugar alcohol conversation. So total sugar, 7 grams, doesn't seem like a lot, right? It's less than 10. But the sugar alcohol is 8, and the added sugar is 3. So there's 3 grams of added sugar and then 8 grams of the sugar alcohol, which a lot of times can cause digestive issues. And I mean, if you eat a whole pint of ice cream, you might have a bellyache no matter what. But I think that that's just kind of like entices you to eat a whole pint. I don't know that anybody really needs a whole pint of ice cream, but also stevia, in addition to natural flavors again, and then your sugar alcohol, which can cause stomach discomfort. Whereas, oh, another thing too is like the ingredient list on this, there's like at least 15. I always say that I would rather just see a client eat a regular portion of a good quality ice cream. So this Haagen-Dazs, the first ingredient is cream, which, you know, a good quality ice cream is made from just cream. If you were going to make ice cream at home, that's probably what you would do. Skim milk, cane sugar, and egg yolks, that's it. The sugar is 25 grams. So it's not less than 10. This isn't something that you'll eat every single day, but 2/3 of a cup, or even, you know, a smaller portion, a half a cup, it's just more, it's a better quality choice than going for this. Kind of, again, like that diet soda or that sugar-free option where they add in other things to make it taste good that are chemical. Someone asked about the dairy-free Hello Top. It's the same concept. They're sweetening it with erythritol. And also it tastes like sand. I don't know if anybody's ever tried it, but it is not good. I have the dairy-free Ben & Jerry's here. I love this one. So the total sugar is 27 grams in 2/3 of a cup. 2/3 of a cup is actually kind of like a bigger portion. I would say half a cup would be a good portion. The fat is a little bit higher, obviously, than the Halo Top, but I think that this is just a better quality product if you're going to have ice cream versus something that could cause GI issues and you don't even know what half the ingredients are. Someone commented that Yasso tastes good. Yasso bars are great. So they're like, if you haven't had them before, they're frozen Greek yogurt bars. So they have really good ingredients as well. And typically just count them as a dairy because they don't have fat. Then if you have a popsicle tray, you can actually make your own too. And like add in fruit and add in like little pieces of chocolate if you wanted to, and vanilla, make your own ice cream. And then, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about too was just pantry must-have. So that's kind of like things that you might have in your pantry that we could swap out and make healthier. Pantry must-have. So dry goods, some things that you might want to keep on hand and to buy in bulk are oats. So we have this huge box here. Also to rice, quinoa, pasta, dry beans, lentils. So at the beginning of the week, it can be really easy to cook up a bunch of, like you can make this whole box of pasta and have it for your week. Or if you wanted to cook up, you know, like make oats for 5 days, you know exactly where your starches are coming from for each of your meals. And these are things that don't go bad. So you can buy oats, rice, quinoa, pasta in bulk, and then you can just have it for if you don't want to cook up, you know, like a plant-based starch, like potatoes or something. Frozen fruits and vegetables are great. So using those in addition to fresh produce can help if you want something quick, or if you want to throw in vegetables quickly into another dish. You can make them in a pot, you can make them in the microwave. They don't have, you know, any less nutrient than fresh broccoli. And they're actually pretty cheap. I usually get like 10 for $10 at the grocery store, as long as they don't have like a cheese sauce or something like added in there. Somebody asked, how do you recommend storing pasta for the week after cooking it? Freezer or fridge? I can't say I've ever tried to freeze pasta. So I can't say on that. Fridge is fine. I just have like a big Pyrex bowl, can just toss it in there. When you reheat it, you can do it in the microwave or on the stove. You might have to add like a little bit of water just to get the noodles to separate. But it's fine in the fridge for a few days in a week. I don't know that I would freeze it. If you ever freeze it, report back. Another thing on the list is like canned or boxed goods. So beans, broth, oils, those are things that you want to have in your pantry. Beans, you can like, again, toss into any dish and get a good starch portion there, in addition to protein if you're plant-based. And again, really cheap. They're like 68 cents a can. You just want to make sure that you rinse them, that they don't have added salt, that they don't have like added creams or anything like that. Especially like during a pandemic or like a time when you might not be able to get to the store a lot. If you have some of these options in your pantry already, you know like where your carbs are going to come from. And they're all single ingredients too. So oats, rice, quinoa, beans, legumes. The only ingredient in those foods is the food. So that's a great starch option. And then produce, potatoes. Those are a great one too. Don't typically go bad too quickly, as long as you store them right. Onions, that's a staple to have on hand anytime you're cooking. Going to bring flavor to your food.
Worried about you. Do you know that?
Someone have a question?
I've been very worried about you.
Okay. And then tomato sauce, soy sauce, those are good things to keep on hand too. Nuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, you can always add those to a food if you want to get a fat serving. So we talked about putting chia seeds in your oatmeal. If you want to add that to yogurt, that's a great option. Instead of, so it's essentially planning ahead instead of thinking like, how am I going to get my fat today? If you have like a lot of these things in your pantry already, because you can buy chia seeds and flax seeds in bulk and then store them in like a pantry or shelf stable container. And then you have them for when you need them. That's why I would call them a pantry staple. So kind of like building your pantry. Canned or pouched tuna can also be a good option if you're running out of protein and aren't able to make it to the store. So I'm sure everybody's been there where, you know, like you don't have any chicken left or you don't like have the food that you need. If you have some of these shelf stable or pantry items, that can help in between. Somebody asked how often can you eat tuna? So I think you're okay to eat tuna every day if you wanted to. Considered one of the white fishes. So that's a lean meat. Actually, I think we did have some tuna, but no more. That's something that you can do. There's a good recipe on the member portal for a like tuna avocado tuna salad. So instead of using mayo, you can use avocado, and I think there's actually apples in it, maybe, or raisins. That's a really good one I've heard. And then spices and baking powder. So cocoa powder, vanilla, like a variety of spices. So I'll show you. I have like a spin around here just with all my different spices. Fresh basil, those kind of things like really bring flavor to your food. So if you're just like bored of eating like brown rice and like chicken and like your vegetables are bland, like spices go so far and they don't count as anything. There's no fat in them. There's no sugar. Just check the ingredient list. Garlic is probably my favorite one, but it's great and also has a lot of antioxidants. So if you've been avoiding cooking with spices because you're not sure, make sure that you add those in and make that part of your pantry staple. One last thing I wanted to talk about too was how, I talked about this a little bit earlier, how On Point counts like the carb, protein, fat. And then, so for instance, we have, so with this bread, Dave's Killer Bread. Again, on your food guide, where it says nutrition per one serving, we know that 80 to 120 calories is one starch. So in addition to that, you'll see 15 to 20 grams of carbs counts as one starch as well. So this has 22 grams of carbs, a little bit over 20, but it has 110 calories, which fits into that 80 to 120 calorie range. So when you're looking at this, and we know the first ingredient is whole wheat, which is a starch, and you look at the carbohydrates and you look at the calories, it breaks down to be one starch. So we know one slice is one starch versus, that's how we came to know that 3 pieces of this is one, because they're only 45 calories a slice. So one slice of this bread wouldn't even count as one starch portion because it's too low in calories. So you're actually not even eating a full starch if you have one slice. That's why they want you to eat 3 in order to get 27 grams of carbs and 130 calories. So 5 grams of fat would also be equal to 1 fat serving. So that's why with your protein bars,
Always open that
for those.
Okay.
And then protein, anytime you see like 15 grams. So that was an example with your bonza pasta. Said 13, close to 15. We'll count that as a half, close enough. That would be half protein.
car. Get it out of your way. I think I left some peas inside. I hope I did.
And then we talked about like natural sugar and no added sugar and kind of like the marketing there with the sugar alcohol. Went over the ingredient list a little bit, prominence. So the first ingredient is the most prominent to the end being like least prominent, meaning there's not as much of that ingredient in the product. So you always want to look at the ingredient list in addition to the macronutrients, the calories, like determine what you would count it as from there.
I can't find my car.
Amanda, are you able to put your phone on mute? Getting a lot of background noise there. And then we talked a little bit about your saturated versus your unsaturated fat. So unsaturated fat is what you're going to find in your avocado, oils, nuts, nut butter, chia seeds. The saturated fat is going to be most prominent in animal products, which contributes to your risk for disease. So we had a lot of questions along the way. Oh, somebody also added in a question about easy to eat or unwrap or make snacks to keep in the pantry that are low in starches. Things to take for lunch or snacks at work that need to be easy and hassle-free. So a great one is going to be chopped veggies. which might not sound exciting, but I always recommend you can add that with peanut butter, or you can add it to with hummus. Baby carrots are great for this, or like the little mini peppers that they sell. You can eat them like all the way down to the stem, and you can also use those in cooking too. The packets are like a great snack, in addition to hard-boiled eggs. I know we consider like unwrapping to peel them from the shell, but that's a great starch-free snack. Veggies with hummus. You can do a fruit with peanut butter, like apple and peanut butter. You can make a protein shake at a time and keep that in your fridge. In addition to trail mix, or if you have like 100-calorie packs of nuts, that's actually another good one to keep on hand too. Easy to eat, just open it up. No really hassle there. Also, you could make like turkey and cheese, like roll-ups. Those in a container, roll those up, or cheese sticks, yogurt. Somebody asked, is 1 tablespoon of peanut butter 1 fat or 2? This is like a hot topic. So if you've been like paying attention, it has 190 calories, where typically say a fat really like 45 or 50, and it has 15 grams of fat in 2 tablespoons. So if we break that down, 1 tablespoon has about like 8 grams of fat, and about calories, which is a little bit more than that 5 grams of fat and 45 calorie per serving. So I would say your 1 tablespoon is actually closer to 2 fat servings. So talk to your nutritionist and see how they want to how they want you to count it. Does anybody else have any questions? So a lot of these things are also on the snack list that's on the portal too. Different brand recommendations, shopping lists as well. And then, like I said, I'm going to send out a handout kind of like with pantry staples and some of the stuff that we talked about, just a summary. Also, we have this recorded in the portal if you want to refer back to it. Does anybody want to tell me or tell the group any of their favorite pantry staples that we didn't talk about, or ideas that they had? Anybody can turn on their mic or send a comment. Oh yeah, somebody commented, that's it bars. So that's it bars are great. Remind me a lot of the Lair bars, just without the nuts. So those are just fruit, which is a great serving of fruit if you're not able to get to the store and get your produce, and actually like kind of nice to eat because it feels like you're eating something different than biting into a piece of fruit.
What is a that's it bar?
I'm sorry, what is it?
What is a that's it bar?
That's it bar. So it's like dried fruit that they made into a bar. So it's kind of like, if you've ever had a Lair bar, it's kind of the same texture. It just doesn't have the nuts in it. So it's the only ingredient is like blueberries or like whatever the flavor is, which are they're really good. So it's kind of just like pressed down, dried and pressed down. They're about like 100 calories, so it could be 1 fruit serving each. This person commented that they get them on Amazon. 12 bars are $1.50. I've also seen them at Whole Foods. Whole Foods, you can get a combination of 16 bars, and they give you a 10% discount too. So if you want to try a bunch of like different bars, you can do that. Someone commented they like Made Good products, which have none of the common allergens, and then have also ingredients. I'm sorry, veggies in the ingredients. So I've seen those. Those are really cool. I think they make like granola clusters. So that's a great example of something that has good ingredients. Another thing I wanted to show you was Cody bars. So anybody talking again about like allergens, these are lactose and gluten-free and low FODMAP friendly. So kind of like anybody that's avoiding things that cause GI issues, follow a low FODMAP diet possibly. There's also a coupon code for this in the member portal, so I'm pretty sure you get 15% off your purchase. But these are pretty good, and like they're made from grains and seeds. Really good ingredients here. Only 7 grams of sugar, which is less than 10, so this is good. And then another discount code that you'll receive too in the member portal section is from Thrive Market, which is another great place to get a bunch of pantry staples. I think you get 25% off your first purchase. So you have the Fody foods, you have Thrive Market, and then Orgain. Somebody asked, what's the name of the last bar? Lactose free Fody. It's F-O-D-Y. Fody bar. So there's a coupon code for this on the member portal too. So that's pretty much all I have for you, unless anybody has any other comments or questions. Okay. Ooh, the sun's coming in here. Oh, someone asked about rice cakes. I think rice cakes are a great option. Again, you want to just get something that like isn't overly flavored or has added sugar. So like maybe not the apple cinnamon ones. If you can, try to get the plain, and then you can always like doctor it up with like nut butter, or I know a lot of people like to put like maybe like some Greek yogurt or ricotta cheese on them, and eat them in the morning instead of toast. That's a great option because they're really just rice, the only ingredient. So that's a good snack. I also have I wanted to show this popcorn, Lesser Evil. This is something that we named on the handout. So again, kind of like going over like more fiber, fewer calories, less fat. Because less fat than like if you do like movie theater popcorn, or some of the other like Smart Food or something like that. It's just popcorn and coconut oil and Himalayan sea salt. So 3 cups is 100 calories, which is really just going to be a starch. There's 4 grams of fat in here. Since it is made with coconut oil, I would count it as a fat as well. So that's kind of like how I deduce how to count things as well. I know that there's 4 grams of fat, which is close to 5. I know that there's, coconut oil is the second ingredient. So we know that there's starch and oil in this, or carbon and fat. And then you just kind of like look at the ingredients that they name and the macronutrients on the label. So popcorn, rice cakes, pretzels. Typically the only ingredient you'll see on pretzels is like wheat flour, water, salt, anything that's like 20, like a list of 20, maybe like not great. Anybody have any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, it was great. Let's see, we went about an hour. You guys had a lot of great questions. If you have any other questions, you can refer to your nutritionist, or if you want to send me an email, that's fine too. We just got somebody, oh, just comments. Okay, good. I hope it was helpful. Great. And then, like I said, look out for an email from me with the handout. And then again, those discount codes and the recording will be on the member portal. So I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.